Rio de Janeiro looks like it's preparing for a military confrontation rather than a meeting of leaders of the global south. 17,000 police and soldiers surrounded the venue of the 17th BRICS summit. Originally a forum for 5 emerging economies, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, it has recently expanded to 11 countries, including Iran, Ethiopia, Egypt, the UAE, Indonesia, and Saudi Arabia, which still has to formalize its entry. BRICS' goal is to exert pressure for a multipolar world with inclusive global governance to give a meaningful voice to the global south, especially in the trading system. Brazil's presidential foreign policy advisor warns the multilateral order is collapsing.
So we are coming back to a kind of world disorder, which is very similar to the one that preceded the 2 world wars. We don't want a world dominated by the G7. We want a balanced world in which the interests of developing countries are taken into account.
BRICS are larger than the G7 countries in terms of global GDP, but it's not a trade bloc, nor a military alliance. For all the security, the heads of state who would presumably want it most aren't coming. Russia's Vladimir Putin, for example, will be attending the meeting online because of the international arrest warrant issued against him by the International Criminal Court. And for the first time, China's president has declined to attend. This seen as a huge blow for fellow BRICS founder and host country Brazil. Prior to the summit, China had failed to convince BRIC foreign ministers to take a more aggressive position against President Donald Trump's tariff war. One of the forum's achievements has been the creation of a development bank for the global south as an alternative to the World Bank.
Our bank is more than just a major bank for emerging countries. It proves that a reformed financial architecture is viable.
The summit agenda includes health, climate change, and artificial intelligence cooperation. But some claim the forum wants to challenge Western dominance.
It's undeniable that China dominates the bloc, but it's not like the Soviet hegemony. The bloc isn't super organized, nor does it have radical global impact.
The real question is, can an expanded BRICS, whose members have very different political systems and priorities, form a sufficiently unified bloc to have any significant impact? Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera, Rio de Janeiro.
BRICS growth. How private investment will transform southern economies. Leaders of the growing BRICS group gathering in Brazil for a summit overshadowed by United States President Donald Trump's new tariff policies, while presenting the bloc a defender of multilateralism. The leaders, mainly from the developing world, will be discussing ways to increase cooperation amid what they say are serious concerns over Western dominance at their 2-day summit that begins in Rio de Janeiro on Sunday. The BRICS acronym is derived from the initial letters of the founding member countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The bloc, which held its first summit in 2009, later added Egypt, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates as full members. It also has 10 strategic partner countries, a category created last year, that includes Belarus, Cuba, and Vietnam. But for the first time since taking power in 2012, Chinese President Xi Jinping will not be attending in person, instead sending Prime Minister Li Kong. Russian President Vladimir Putin will also miss in-person attendance, as he is wanted by the International Criminal Court (ICC) for his role in the 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Brazil, as a signatory to the Rome Statute, would be required to enforce the arrest warrant. The notable absences are raising questions over the group's cohesion and global clout. Now chaired by Brazil, leaders at the BRICS summit are expected to decry the Trump administration's indiscriminate trade tariffs, saying they are illegal and risk hurting the global economy. Global health policies, artificial intelligence and climate change will also be on the agenda. The BRICS countries say they represent almost half of the world's population, 36% of global land area, and a quarter of the global economic output. The bloc sees itself as a forum for cooperation between countries of the Global South and a counterweight to the Group of Seven G7, comprised of leading Western economic powers. However, behind the scenes, divisions are evident. According to a source quoted by the Associated Press news agency, some member states are calling for a firmer stance on Israel's war in Gaza and its recent strikes on Iran. The source requested anonymity due to the sensitivity of the discussions. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian and Egypt's Abdel Fattah el-Sisi will be attending the Rio summit, but Al Jazeera's Lucia Newman, reporting from Rio, said the group's aim remains clear. The BRICS goal is to exert pressure for a multipolar world with inclusive global governance to give a meaningful voice to the Global South, especially in the trading system, she said. It's not super organized, nor does it have a radical global impact, Newman added. The real question is, can an expanded BRICS whose members have very different political systems and priorities form a sufficiently unified bloc to have any significant impact? Source: Al Jazeera. Subscribe.